What the hell just happened? I'm at a loss for words. I got my breath caught in my throat. That was. I didn't even have time to look up anything about this episode. The internet's being slow. What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds, Season 11, Episode 15, A Badge and a Gun. And as you can tell by my reaction, I was not expecting that ending. If you have not watched the episode, and for some reason you're watching this review, you have no idea what the ending is that I'm talking about, so get off this review right now. If you're watching this on a day other than Wednesday night, go watch it right now, CBS.com. If you're watching this on some future day where CBS may not have it anymore, sucks for you. But okay, just going to talk about the episode first, because what happened at the end was clearly setting up for next week's episode. And even though it was freaking crazy and gets me excited for next week, I'm going to look at this episode by itself, because honestly, on its own, this episode was pretty good. Like, it wasn't quite what I was expecting. Like, from all the previews, it was talking about, oh, what if they're one of us? And, talking about the possibility of an FBI agent being a serial killer, which would be absolutely, they would have to be the best actor in the world to be an FBI agent and get through all of these. Of course, they did have one agent that did slip through the cracks. The one that was involved with, what was his name? Crap. He killed the woman that was sometimes nice to Hotch and his team, sometimes mean. He killed her, and I can't remember the name that they gave him. The Replicator, maybe? But anyway, he was an FBI agent that went crazy. So the thought of an FBI agent being a serial killer is not necessarily a new idea, but the thought of somebody just using their credentials to just get into a home and then kill somebody is pretty crazy. But beyond that, I was just sitting there, throughout most of this episode, they're kind of they're going back and forth. They're like, oh, it has to be an FBI agent, he's using the FBI credentials. And they start looking up all the FBI agents, and none of them were in the range, none of it checked out, and none of the credentials have been stolen. So I'm like, wait, so how did he fake them? Did he make them actually look good enough to fake and work his way into the house? But that was a little bit of mystery in this episode that I like to see. I'm a big mystery fan, and so this show in particular, not a very good job of doing mystery. They're generally, they show you who the bad guy is beforehand. It's just watching the team figure out why they're doing what they're doing most of the time. But in this one, there was that bit of mystery. Like, is this guy actually an FBI agent? If so, how is he, the three guys that were suspects based on where their phones pinged near the time of the murder, they couldn't have done it. So how is he able to commit these murders without, looking like a suspect? If he's not an FBI agent, how is he able to get credentials? Because none of them are stolen. And so, there's a little bit of mystery there that was kind of enjoyable. But just the story, the case itself was pretty good. It's one of the better cases for Criminal Minds. The story behind this guy is a pretty rough one. They talk about his childhood, his dad. He crapped himself, I guess is the best word. He crapped himself at a young age, but his dad made him wear the underpants with the crap in it on his head. I'm just like, yeah, I can see how this guy became a serial killer. And beyond that, he he's killing these women based off of a memory he had where these girls led him out to a place and he got wrapped inside this mat, nearly suffocated. Well, he's doing the same thing to these women as kind of a surrogate for those girls that did it to him. But also, he's from prison. He has this prison tattoo, and because of that, he knows kind of how FBI agents talk, and he's able to mimic one pretty well. So all of that is it's a good way to explain it all. I'm just like, okay, I can agree with all that. I can follow it pretty well. Good ending. I'm happy with it. So what else is going on in this episode? Not a whole lot. At the beginning of this episode, they finally had something besides just going straight into the case. Because the past few episodes have been like that, where they just go straight into the case and they don't talk about the team at all. And earlier in the season, they were doing that. They were focusing on the team a bit more than they were last season, especially. But they were focusing on the personal lives. Something's going on there. Some sort of conflict in their own personal life that they have to overcome, or something funny going on. Just a bit of lightheartedness, and the team is enjoyable. That's part of the reason why I tune in week after week. So if you take that aspect away, it's not as strong. And so I'm glad that they did bring that back up in this episode. You got Morgan gets a text from his boo thing. I say boo thing just because it's Morgan. I feel like he would call her that. I don't know. That's how he talks. Anyway, but he gets a text from, I think her name's Savannah, and she says, dinner tonight? ? Need to talk. And once he got that, it's kind of like, uh-oh. Like every single guy watching the show said, oh crap, he's screwed. And so, a bit of lightheartedness at the beginning because Rossi is in the room or is nearby when it happens, and so now he's kind of joking with him about it. And then Garcia happens to walk by, and she's like, what's going on? Rossi's like, he got a text and need to talk. She's like, uh-oh, you in trouble. So it was a bit of joking around to start off the episode to make it feel a little bit lighthearted. And I think I talked about this in a previous episode this season. They need that. They need more of that, because it's kind of what keeps this show from being extremely dark and depressing. Like if you just tune in week after week to see a serial killer kill somebody and his team solve the case, it's one thing to tune into a crime show and watch a regular team of whether it's NCIS, whether it's Elementary, whether it's I can't think of another crime show at the moment. Monk or Psych is two more that are already ended, obviously. But you tune in week after week. There's a crime. These people, they find the clues and then they solve the crime. This one is less of a let's try to solve the mystery. It's more of a exploration into the mind of a killer. And that's not exactly something you can really handle week after week without it kind of getting in your head a little bit. Not that, if you watch the show, you're turning into a serial killer. I don't think I am. Well, those blackouts have been coming more and more recently. I'm sorry if something bad happens. That was a joke that just went horribly awry. Anyway, but like I said, it does kind of weigh down on you a bit to watch the same stuff week after week without throwing a bit of lightheartedness in. And so that's what I feel like the 10th season was lacking, because I've said before how I didn't think the 10th season was that good overall. There was like one or two episodes that really stood out. The rest of the season just didn't really do anything. It didn't really do much for me. It didn't keep me interested. A lot of the episodes I was just kind of watching and just like, oh, okay, that was okay. But it didn't really keep me entertained. Whereas this season has done much better in keeping me entertained because they've done a lot more with the team this season. So that's a little bit of a detour, but that's my point in why it's good to start it this way. I'm trying to think anything else involving the case. I already pretty much talked about the case. It was a good case. Um, I think that's about it. It's funny because when I was thinking about it as it was ending, I'm just like, oh, I got so much to talk about. Now that I think about it, I'm just like, no, it's pretty much just the case and what's going on with Derek Morgan. So, anyway, started off well with Derek Morgan. The case was good. Had a lot of, a couple twists and turns that were well thought out, well paced, and then ended very well. It was a well paced episode too. That's something that the pacing's been off in a few episodes recently. Like they're trying to figure out who it is, trying to figure out who it is. They figure it out, now they gotta catch him, or they figure out who it is, and now they're trying to catch him, trying to catch him, trying to catch him, and then they finally catch him. It's just like you gotta pace it better. And this one was well paced. They were trying to figure out who he was, why he was doing it. They finally figure out why he's doing it. They finally, they set up a trap for him. He evades the trap, so now they're trying to track him down. They put out the APB, and then there's a final scene where, typical Criminal Minds, he has a gun to somebody's head, and then they talk him out of it. So it was well paced. And I kind of, like, whenever it was ending, I was just like, you know what? I'm happy. This was a good episode. I'm happy with this one. It was much better than last week's. So whenever they're showing on the plane, Derek starts texting her. I'm just like, oh, what's gonna happen here? And then she starts sending stuff back, and she seems okay. And I'm just like, is she really? Just the typical guy brain is just like, let me overthink this really fast because. Yeah, she says she wants ice cream, but what exactly does she want? Oh, a little XO? Is that trying to just throw him off the scent? Like, what's going on? Just trying to overthink it. And then it shows him at the store getting the ice cream. And just the way the camera work was set up, I got this sinking feeling in my stomach. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about if you're having to watch this review and watch the show too, but there are just sometimes when they end an episode, the way the camera is set up and kind of the tone of the music and the lighting, it's just a sense that something bad's about to happen. Like you thought this episode was over. Hang on, it's not over yet. And so he starts walking out of the store, a guy bumps into him, and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. It was way too, like, if it had just been like if he was walking out and then like it was just kind of a little bump and it kept going, that would have been one thing. But it was like bump, excuse me, yeah, sorry man. I'm just like, oh no. He stole something. He pickpocketed him, he stole his credentials or something like, he stole something. This is not, and then another guy bumps into him and you could see Morgan's just kind of like struggling as he's talking to Savannah. And like, he starts blinking, and then things start to get blurry. I'm just like, oh no, they poisoned him. And then all of a sudden, these guys get out the van and just throw him on the ground and start kicking the crap out of him. I was a little bit frustrated with Savannah because he's like, call Hotch, and then they knock the phone out of his hand and start beating the crap. Morgan, hello, are you there? Morgan, I'm just like, he just said call Hotch. Get off the freaking phone and call him already. But that was less of a nitpick on the show, more of a nitpick on the character, because I think they did that on purpose to kind of show she's an idiot. At least I think that's the whole point. Anyway, so they're beating the crap out of him and crush the phone, and then now it looks like next week something's going on with they've got Danny Glover on the show. That's pretty freaking awesome as a bad guy. I don't know exactly what's going on. I don't know. They could go anywhere with this. Like, this could be somebody from Morgan's past. This could be... What if it's his father? What if? Like, that would be crazy. Oh, so many possibilities with this. And just throwing it in at the end of this episode is kind of like a little surprise. Like, watching this, it just seemed like a good Criminal Minds episode. It seemed like... Let me explain it this way. I just had my birthday. And I imagine this episode as, happy birthday, here's your present. It's just like, oh, thanks. That's open it up. It's like, it's it's something nice. It's money. It's a gift. It's a $50 GameStop gift card. Would be awesome. Just like awesome. Thank you. And then the end of the episode is just like, here's $100 GameStop gift card on top of that. I'll take it. Great. That is the best birthday present ever. I didn't expect even more. That's what it is to me. That's how I see it. It was already a good episode of Criminal Minds. That just made it even better. That just made me more excited because now they're really taking a chance. They're finally doing something exciting with the team. They have not done that in so long. I mean, the Mr. Scratch episode from last season, where Hotch, the guy got into Hotch's mind, and Hotch watched all of his team get killed, was pretty freaking crazy. But it wasn't like a personal thing. It wasn't something personal. It was just Hotch happened to be inside the house and get captured by the bad guy. This seems like it's personal. There's something going on between this bad guy and Morgan. They specifically wanted Morgan. Don't know why. I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think they're going to kill him off. I think they'd kill off, Rossi before they killed off Morgan. In my opinion, and I don't know why I think of this, but for some reason, at times, I just think of, well, if they were going to kill off the main characters, it would go in this order. And so for this show, it would be like Hotch, Reed, Morgan, Rossi, JJ. Actually, Garcia's probably just above Rossi. I'm sorry, I'm going the opposite way. This is the least likely to be killed would be Hotch, then Reed, then Morgan, Garcia, Rossi, JJ. And then, anybody else notice the fact that Tara Lewis, Aisha's Tyler character, has not been involved in the past 2 episodes? I feel like they're testing us, the writers of the show. Let's see how many times we can not include her character before somebody steps up and says, hey, where is she? Because, honestly, they don't even really talk about it. They did bring up at the beginning of the season that she is working on some sort of project in the background, but at the same time, they never really, hey, where's Tara? Oh, she's working on that project again. Oh, okay. It's just, they breeze over it she doesn't even matter that she's not here. Who cares? A little bit worrisome for me. But anyway, she doesn't even have her name in the, what's it called, the opening credits. They show all the characters. She's not even a part of that. Do you really not care about her? Was she literally just a fill-in so you could have another woman on the team? Because, it's always seemed like, you had JJ and then somebody else, whether it was Prentice or, what's her name, the L in the first few seasons, and you brought in, after Prentice left the second time, you brought in, what's her name? Agent Blake, I think, and then last season it was Jennifer Love Hewitt's character. Now this season you have Aisha Tyler's character. It's you always want to bring in another woman so you kind of balance the femininity and masculinity on the team. But now she's just hardly there. I don't know. It's weird. Anyway, that was a little tangent I had to go off on for a second. So that's my review for this episode. I'm excited for next week. Are you excited? Let me know down in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? Was it as good as I'm saying? What do you think of the ending? What do you think they're going to do next week? Some opinions on Danny Glover and who he is. I'm still saying Morgan's father. That would be absolutely crazy. His father turns out to be a serial killer. Could you imagine the guy that practically raised him, not really adopted him, but raised him? Actually, I'm trying to remember if we've seen Morgan's parents before. I feel like we haven't, because that one guy raised him, and then we found out that he was actually a really bad guy. The one that was raping the kids. It was awful. Could you imagine though, his childhood hero, the guy that raised him and was practically like a father to him, turns out to be this guy who's actually a rapist and tortured him for a lot of his childhood. And then it turns out he finally finds his father. His father's a serial killer or some sort of really bad guy from what we can tell. It'd just be crazy. Leave a like and subscribe for more Criminal Minds, and I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.